This is going to be me reading a series of posts on Tumblr in... Let's attempt chronological order, shall we? I don't care about chronological order. I will just read to you the posts that I just found today. Let me refresh it. The original post was made last year, and, no. I will say the people's names. I was gonna say I'll leave off people's names to give them a chance to learn and grow, but, if they do learn and grow, then who cares? Lost Sometime posted sometime in 2025, I'm too lazy to check the original exact date and time, said, I am screaming about Murderbot's bad first impression on Amina in Network Effect. Murderbot, I have identified that my friend's teenage daughter is dating a creep based on these provable facts. He lied to her about his age, telling her he's close to her age when he's actually much older, which I know because I ran a background check on him. Encourages her to lie to her family about where she is when she's with him. Isolates her from friends. Convinces her to become intoxicated when he himself is not, by the way, which I know because I can do scans on things like that, and stares at her breasts. Just this fact here right now. Me, as in the person making the post, thinks, okay, some of that monitoring is probably over the top, but you are absolutely correct that this is a creep. Your caution is appropriate. And I'm just before we get into anything else, yes, that's the part where Martha Wells is literally doing propaganda for a fucking surveillance state. She is literally saying it is good for her protagonist to stalk children and do invasive fucking medical scans on children and everyone around it. She's literally saying that's actually good. You should actually have no problem with being surveilled like this constantly. Hold on, I'm being texted. Okay, I'm back. Continuing. I got texted by the person from the pet rescue. So hopefully Serena, I don't think I have videos of her. She will hopefully be getting adopted 2 days from now. Anyways, before we go any further in this post, just the fact that this person is you can literally see the propaganda working right here. The quote is, me, okay, some of that monitoring is probably over the top, but you are absolutely correct that this is a creep. Your caution is appropriate. The fact that Murderbot is stalking every single one of Mensa's children and is performing invasive medical scans on them without their consent or even knowledge constantly, that is, Martha Wells tells us, that's actually a good thing. Because if it wasn't doing that, well, Amina would have gotten hurt by this creep, as this person calls them. Amina would have gotten hurt by this pedophile, which is what's going on here. And the propaganda is literally working, because this person even says it themselves. They were like, oh, I was kind of taken aback by that level of surveillance and stalking, but I guess it turned out good in this situation. That's the propaganda. That's literally the propaganda's working. This propaganda here, along with all of the other shit, literally saying that if you don't want to be spied on by your Amazon Alexa, and you don't want to have your private conversations literally in the privacy of your own bedroom in your home, if you don't want that recorded, that means you actually are mean and cruel and are bullying and oppressing Murderbot, who is so sad that it can't spy on you. Martha Wells is literally teaching people that if you have a problem with surveillance state capitalism and want basic privacy literally inside your own home, then that means that you are oppressing poor neurodivergent robots who you have to let Murderbot spy on everyone at all times. And because look, see, it's a good thing that Murderbot is stalking Mensa's children, because otherwise, she could have gotten hurt. Now let's continue reading this post, shall we? The person says, Murderbot says, anyway, she doesn't like me. The person's it's just in a chat format as though they're talking to Murderbot. Murderbot, anyway, she doesn't like me. Me, oh, because you told her mom about the creep thing? Murderbot, because instead of telling her mom about the creep, I snuck into his house and hid there. in the dark, waiting to intimidate him when he tried to bring her back there alone. And then she was like, "What the fuck? You were just standing in his house for hours, waiting?" I told her that yes, I was, and nobody came by in all that time, which means that when he told her he was taking her to hang out with some friends, he was lying and trying to get her alone. That's the end of the first post, and like the entire thing is that this person thought it was funny. The literal tags are the original tags are, I literally said out loud, "Oh no, Murderbot. I love this loser baby. MFG. This is not how you parent? ? But also their relationship is so sweet by the end, and I cry." Like, Martha Wells frames this entire thing as a massive fucking joke, and people literally think it's funny. The second person, literally with the URL, "I don't want to be a pet robot," meaning a Murderbot themed blog, said, oh, in all one paragraph, I have to read the giant paragraph, said, "Okay, so the reasoning it gives in its internal monologue for not telling Mensa about this incident is that if there was one thing I understood, it was the difference between proprietary and non-proprietary data," and then says no more about it. That sounds like corporate speak, and it is, but what's implied there is that Murderbot is very conscious of the desire for personal privacy. The thing is, being Mensa's kid and a minor makes Mensa, and for Ryan Tano, her legal guardian. You know who else Mensa is legal guardian of in the preservation system? Murderbot. And yeah, almost certainly these don't mean the exact same thing legally, not least of which because there seems to be no expiry date for bots when they are allowed to be guardianless, but I still think the comparison is apt. And yeah, people picking up on the fact that Martha Wells is framing Murderbot as its slave owner's beloved child. Murderbot notices Amina's distaste for authority figures and a desire to be independent and prove herself. Telling Mensa about the incident would not only be tattling, but it would undermine her independence and right to privacy. It's the exact kind of thing that Murderbot would be furious about if it happened to it. It would also reinforce the idea that you are not a person, you are owned, and your transgressions must be reported to your owner, that haunts Murderbot's narrative. That does not fucking haunt Murderbot's narrative in any way. That's a flat-out lie. I think if Amina had similar repeated scenarios where she kept being in danger from the people she chooses to spend time with, and if Murderbot couldn't be certain that it could always be there to stop it before anything happened, then I do think it would report it to Mensa. But Murderbot doesn't think Amina's stupid, and now she has a better idea of what red flags to look for. So it stops the encounter. Make sure that if Amina doesn't listen to it, even if Amina doesn't listen to it, then the creep in question would be too scared to contact her again, and informs her how she's been lied to. Honestly, it is really funny, but I also kinda really respect the way it chose to protect Amina's privacy. The fact that these people are literally claiming that because the propaganda for surveillance is literally working on them. They literally see us being shown that Murderbot is stalking Amina. Murderbot is stalking this child's every goddamn movement. And performing fucking invasive medical scans on her without her consent. And then they come away thinking that Murderbot shaming this victim into silence is the same thing as respecting her privacy after it has stalked her. See you guys. I'm adding to my fucking response quick because it's just ridiculous. Okay. I just added even more details to my response. Both of those replies were left in 2025. I'm not checking the fucking dates. And I responded with, Murderbot really respects Amina's privacy by stalking her every move and performing invasive medical scans on her without her knowledge or consent. This is so wholesome and funny. I'm begging you people to think for 5 seconds before cheering this shit on. This is beyond parody. You are literally cheering on Murderbot stalking this child and every other member of Marensa's family, and your takeaway is that stalking and victim blaming is how you show respect for someone's privacy. You are falling so hard for the pro-surveillance state propaganda, and it's not even funny. And more than that, you're falling for the pedophilia apologism. The problem here is that Amina, the child, is not being protected in any way by these events. This is actively shaming a victim of grooming into silence by convincing her that she is in trouble for being groomed. She has no one to turn to. Her friends don't know about it. Her parents don't know about it. Murderbot did not inform a single person that could have gotten her the support she needs, and it sure as hell is not providing that support itself. This is not cute. It's horrifying. The lesson here that Martha Wells is sending to people, especially the teenagers that are victims of this exact thing, is, if you or your friends are being preyed upon by an adult, don't tell any adults you trust. You can handle it on your own. You're mature enough. That is horrific. And considering how many times now Martha Wells has gone out of her way to romanticize and downplay the harm of pedophilia, you all need to take a step back and think about what she's actually telling people to do right now. You are not supposed to, quote, respect the privacy of children who are being groomed. You are supposed to be getting them help. Amina was groomed and almost raped, and she is being forced into silence about it and has no adults she can turn to for help, and can't even talk to her friends about it. Ask yourself why Martha Wells, the same woman who said pedophilia is romantic as long as the predator is a woman and the victim is a little boy, would want you to think this. And then in parentheses, see her characters Ember and Pearl from the books of the Raksura. And please understand that the very idea of, oh, you shouldn't be spying on everyone, but actually I guess you doing that is good actually, is propaganda against privacy. Martha Wells is rewarding the idea that it's okay to spy on people and that it's just necessary to protect people. This is propaganda. The fact that all of this is framed as funny, please grasp that this is propaganda telling you to not actually help children who are being victimized. And then, literally, in January 2025, I made my own post that says, just to get people to fucking use their brains about this. I said, what message is Martha Wells trying to send by having Murderbot find out a teenage girl is being preyed on by a pedophile, and the only reaction Murderbot has is to scare the pedophile away, specifically in a way that will also scare the teenage girl, and then it doesn't even tell her parents or any other adults she trusts that she was being preyed upon by a pedophile. It literally told no adult about this. The teenage girl is the only other person who knows what was going on. Murderbot didn't even fucking report the pedophile literally anywhere. So Amina is not getting any kind of... The idea of telling this girl's parents what was happening to her is never even considered. So she's not telling any kind of support. She's not getting any kind of support from anywhere. None of her friends know. Her parents do not know. And this is never portrayed as something that Murderbot does wrong. It's treated as no big deal outside of, I guess, it being cool for Murderbot to have scared the pedophile. What message are we supposed to be taking away from this, Martha Wells? Especially because this does not even make sense for Murderbot's characterization at all? Somebody named Idle Curiosity 48 responded, this is a very good point. I assume this was because it saw the threat as a threat to Mensa, not to her daughter. I hope that we see her correct this, meaning I hope we see Martha Wells correct this, maybe after its trauma therapy program, to be better at protecting juveniles for their own sake and not the sake of the adults. I said, yes, seriously. It wasn't even as portrayed as a mistake, where keeping it secret ends up hurting Amina even more down the road. This isn't helping anyone. And there's kids who read these books. They're being told by their favorite character, don't tell a trusted adult about this kind of thing. It's fine to keep it secret. Especially because even at the end of the book, Amina still doesn't tell her parents, or anyone else for that matter, and neither does Murderbot. And then I just made another post today. We're just reading all of the fucking relevant ones. I said, yeah, Martha Wells is literally successfully training people not to get children who are being groomed any support by telling people that getting victims support is violating their privacy. Meanwhile, the protagonist is literally shaming this victim into silence by convincing her that she is in trouble for being victimized and that if she tells anyone, she'll get in even more trouble. Her parents do not know she was being groomed. No adult she trusts knows she was being groomed. None of her friends even know about it. Literally the only person who knows about it is Murderbot, who was stalking her, which Martha Wells actively tells us is good and wholesome because look, it found out about the pedophile. Therefore, you shouldn't actually be upset with the idea of Murderbot stalking a child. See? Surveillance states are there to protect you. And the victim in question has been successfully isolated and shamed for being victimized, and shamed into not telling anyone who could help her. And Martha Wells not only portrays all of this as the correct course of actions, it's framed as funny. You can literally see people laughing about the entire thing, and I linked to those people laughing about the entire thing, because it is framed not as something horrifying, but as something that's funny, that we should laugh at, and not think about any more than Martha Wells tells us to. And Martha Wells tells us to agree that what is best for this child victim is to shame her and convince her not to ever tell anyone what was being done to her. Not her parents, not her friends, not any other trusted adult. She is shamed into silence. And Martha Wells tells us this is good. And it is never resolved. It was literally just there to be a joke about how Murderbot's such a good enforcer of surveillance state that it stalks children, but actually that's a good thing, because if it hadn't been stalking this child, she could have gotten hurt. But also, we're literally not supposed to care about how she was hurt, or have any concern for her well-being in the future, now that she's been shamed into silence. I am begging you all to start using critical thinking skills. This is not cute. This is not funny. Martha Wells is literally telling you it's good to shame child victims into silence over being groomed by pedophiles without giving them any support of any kind. And I swear to gods, if any of you pull out the, but Murderbot's an unreliable narrator, when every single thing Martha Wells tells you is that Murderbot made the right choice here, heads are going to roll. This woman is actively endangering the children who are reading their books. She is actively telling children not to tell trusted adults if they or their friends are being preyed upon. That is not fucking okay. And literally, that's the end of the post. I'm just gonna go off on my own thing now, but literally, Murderbot was stalking this child. And then the end result is that we're supposed to think it's so sweet and adorable, and that Murderbot really respects the privacy of the child it was stalking and performing invasive medical scans on without her knowledge or consent. And Martha Wells doesn't want you to think about the fact that it is constantly scanning people for their fucking vital signs. She doesn't want you to think that's a fucking invasive violation of privacy or anything, because Martha Wells is a fucking conservative, simply pretending, for the sake of filling her wallet, that she gives a fuck about anything at all. She's actively doing surveillance state propaganda. You aren't supposed to care that Murderbot is going around scanning people all the time without their knowledge or consent. You're not supposed to, fucking A. Murderbot could scan you and find out if you are pregnant, and could just reveal that information to anybody it fucking wanted. And Martha Wells wants us to be fine with that. We're not supposed to be upset by this invasive medical scan that Murderbot does to people at all times. We're not supposed to be upset about that. We're not supposed to consider that a breach of privacy. We're not supposed to consider Murderbot literally stalking this child and stalking her, literally, and spying on every single person she interacts with and stalking the people she interacts with. We're not supposed to have a problem with any of that. We're supposed to think that's cute. Because, and actually, it's for the greater good. Because look, Murderbot got to scare away a pedophile in a conservative fantasy of scaring a pedophile. Does the pedophile face any consequences? Does the child victim receive any support? No. The fucking pedophile didn't even get arrested because Murderbot didn't actually fucking report any of this shit anywhere. And again, the victim has been shamed into silence and has been shamed into thinking that she is in trouble and it is her fault, and if she tells anyone, she will just get in even more trouble. Amina was literally under the fucking impression that her parents were punishing her for what she thinks is her fault. Her being victimized by a goddamn pedophile as a child. She thinks that her parents were punishing her for that by sending Murderbot as her fucking chaperone on the bullshit, you know. And again, the whole slavery apologism, we're not supposed to give a fuck at all that Murderbot is literally Mensa's fucking slave. Hold on, a cat is attacking a cord. Hey, get down. What are you doing, silly boy? You're, oh, it's in the bathroom. Hold on. Here. Come here, little baby. Go get your parrot toy. Okay, I'm back. I forgot I put theirs. The cats have a string toy. I forgot I had it in the bathroom so it could get washed because they got covered in dirt. So he was playing with the fucking fan cord instead. What was I don't remember what part I was saying because I had to stop him from knocking the TV over. Yeah. This is just a conservative fantasy about, oh, I got to scare a pedophile. Like, vigilante style bullshit. And then meanwhile, the fucking grooming the victim here, she has no support. She has no support at all, and she has been shamed into fucking silence and is convinced that she's in trouble and she's being punished for being victimized. And literally, I swear to God, I know somebody, since I'm making these posts, I know somebody's going to just pull out the, oh, but Murderbot's an unreliable narrator. You're just stupid and don't know how to read if you think this is a problem. And it's like, I'm going to stab you in the fucking eyeball. Murderbot is not an unreliable narrator when the entire narrative frames what Murderbot did here as the correct fucking decision. This story does not end. There's no fucking B-plot where fucking Amina has a mental breakdown from the stress of having to deal with this and having to keep it to herself and not being able to fucking tell anybody, and thinking that her parents, who haven't spoken a word about it to her, she thinks Murderbot told them, but it didn't. She thinks her parents know about it and are just giving her the fucking cold shoulder and are punishing her. There's no fucking side plot where this fucking child has a mental breakdown from the stress of all of this. There's no fucking... There's just nothing. There's no consequences. There are no fucking negative consequences to the decision that Murderbot made here. Martha Wells is explicitly framing what Murderbot did as the correct fucking decision. There are no negative consequences. Amina is not hurt further by Murderbot's fucking actions. At no point does Amina receive the support she needs. The story does not end with Amina telling her fucking uncle, who she has a good relationship with, what happened to her. And being given a fucking hug and told it wasn't her fault. This shit has no resolution. As far as Martha Wells is concerned, the problem was resolved when Murderbot scared away the pedophile and shamed this child into thinking that she is in trouble and it was her fault she was victimized by a pedophile. Murderbot is not an unreliable narrator. Okay, I made this post yesterday, I'm gonna fucking sum it up. A narrator who says the sky is purple, and then the narrative proves that they are in fact completely wrong about that because the sky is blue, is an unreliable narrator. And we know they are an unreliable narrator because the narrative proves them wrong. The entire rest of the story proves, no, the sky's blue. This person is wrong. They are either actively lying to you or very fucking confused. Or maybe they're colorblind in some way. I don't think that's how colorblindness works. A narrator who tells you that the sky is purple And every single thing in the narrative, from dialogue to scene descriptions to the types of clothing that are and jewelry and other things that are described as sky-colored, all of this proves that yes, this sky is in fact purple on this goddamn planet. Maybe even this sci-fi future where something has affected Earth's atmosphere. A character can tell you the sky is purple. You can only say that that narrator is an unreliable narrator if the entire rest of the story proves that that is not true. A narrator who says the sky is purple because they live in a fantasy or science fiction land where the sky literally is purple is not an unreliable narrator, because the entire rest of the story upholds what they say as truth. Murderbot is not an unreliable narrator. You cannot fucking excuse Martha Wells's doing pedophilia apologism, downplaying the fucking risks and danger of pedophilia and telling you that the correct response is to victim blame children and shame them into silence. You cannot excuse that by saying, oh, well, Murderbot's just an unreliable narrator. You're not supposed to agree with it. Because there are no negative consequences. Network effect is not about this. This is a goddamn thing that could take up the space of an entire novel. And that's not what this fucking thing is about, even remotely. There is no pushback. There is no proof from any quarter that Murderbot made the wrong decision and that what it chose to do is harming Amina more than it is fucking helping. Murderbot at no point has to fucking see the stress that Amina is under and fucking tell her everything and tell her, I didn't tell your parents. They're not punishing you. I clearly fucked up. This is my fault. I should not have made you think this was on you. I shouldn't have made you think that you were a bad person. I'm gonna start crying from rage now. Murderbot never apologizes to this fucking child victim. Nobody ever confronts Murderbot after this child has had a mental breakdown and spilled her fucking guts to people that she thinks are already punishing her. She literally thinks that all of the adults in her family know what happened and that they are just ignoring it and doing things to punish her. She thinks they are mad at her. She thinks she's being punished. And Martha Wells wants us to just think that this is the correct fucking course of action. Murderbot made the right decision. Nobody should question Murderbot's decision. There are no fucking consequences for this goddamn child. There are no consequences for Murderbot for fucking harming this child. Martha Wells. This fucking story was published in 2020. I am playing with the cats with one hand, so I cannot fucking type into Google. You can all find out what year I think it's the fucking third book in the Books of the Raxura came out, where Martha Wells literally frames a little boy, and I quote, not barely even old enough to be out of the nursery. He's barely old enough to be out of fucking kindergarten, and he is sold as a sexual slave to a woman old enough to be his great-grandmother. But they're immortal. They live for hundreds of years. So, she's still physically fit and can rape him at any time. And Martha Wells tells us that this is romantic. This is adorable. This is actually completely normal and natural. And we should cheer it on. Because look how happy this pedophile is to have a little boy to victimize. And it's okay because the main character asks this child if he's okay with this, and the child, the victim, who literally has no civil rights unless he is attached as the sex slave to this fucking woman old enough to be his grandmother, he is literally legal property. He has literally no civil rights. If he tried to run away from his fucking abuser, he would literally be homeless and left to starve and killed on sight for leaving the fucking cult. They literally refer to people who leave their cult as feral. Literally less than a goddamn animal. And our main character's makes a token gesture of, hey, are you fine with this? And the child, Martha Wells tells us, yes, the child is delighted to be getting preyed upon by a pedophile because actually he's nervous of the girls his age. he's shy around girls his age, and he loves the pedophile that is preying on him because she is so mature. This is what Martha Wells wrote. I guess I will Google it with one hand. I will just take forever. Not that I can even type the word S. I don't even know if there's a fucking Wikipedia page. This... Oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. No. Are you... Wow. Today we're learning all kinds of things. Today, I'm learning that The Cloud Roads, book 1 of the Books of the Raxura, came out in February 2011. I knew that. What I didn't know was that book 2 came out January 2012. And that book 3 came out December 2012. So, wow. She's been doing this shit the whole time. Anyways, so literally in 2012, Martha Wells was literally writing a story romanticizing and glorifying not only sexual slavery, but pedophilic sexual slavery, and telling us to think that it is romantic and adorable for a little boy to be the sexual fucking property of a woman old enough to be his grandmother. Because look, he enjoys it. She's so mature. And then in 2020, Martha Wells doubles down again and says directly to the children who are reading this series, some of whom are guaranteed to be fucking victims, that you shouldn't tell any trusted adults what is happening to you. You are mature enough that you should just keep this to yourself. That's what she's telling people in 2020. And there's no pushback. This is not Murderbot being an unreliable narrator, because the entire narrative wants you to agree that Murderbot did the right thing and that it is correct for Murderbot to stalk children, because look, a good thing happened. And the good thing is that Martha Wells got to write a conservative fucking fantasy about vigilante style scaring a pedophile, but not actually doing anything to actually support the victim or prevent children from being victimized in the first place. Because clearly Mensa's fucking Mensa is not having these kinds of fucking conversations with her children, and neither are, you know, whoever the fuck she's married to, however many goddamn children they have. We literally get told in book 1 that one of Mensa's best friends has lost track of how many children she has, and Martha Wells wants us to think that's cute and funny. Guess what? We know that book 1, we know The Cloud Roads came out in 2011. Guess when the book 2 and 3 came out?
2011. Or no? No idea.
Book 2 came out January 2012. Book 3 came out December 2012. So she's literally been doing this shit the entire fucking time. And very clearly not even I was sitting on these complete manuscripts, because, you know, all of the retconning and continuity errors, that's not something that you have had sitting around in a drawer
Fully
fixing,
ready to publish.
but fully ready to publish.
So she's literally just shitting out first drafts.
Yes.
Could have maybe had a spell check and that's it.
And barely even that. Yeah. Yeah, this is a half an hour long video now, just pointing out again, like, these people are literally being trained to think that Murderbot shaming a child victim into silence is respecting her privacy, at the same time that they are literally reading the entire thing about how Murderbot was stalking her and performing fucking invasive medical scans, not only on her, but everyone around her at all times without their knowledge or consent. And the fact that Martha Wells literally doesn't want us to give a fuck about any of this. She wants us to think that performing invasive medical scans, like I pointed out, Murderbot could literally find out you were fucking pregnant from looking at you, and it could tell anybody that at any point, and Martha Wells wants us to be totally fine with this. Mm-hmm. This fucking series is not progressive in any goddamn way. Martha Wells, I didn't even get to Witch King yet. Witch King was published in 2023, and it is literally a romance between a fucking child who has been groomed by, like, a literal... I'm not fucking joking here. I'm not fucking exaggerating. A fucking pedophilic, incestuous eugenics cult. The fucking main character is groomed as a child his entire life into a fucking eugenics, incestuous, pedophilic cult, where he is put in the body... He is a child who is put in the body of a small fucking youth who was probably murdered by her goddamn parents. And her body, Kai, as a child, was put into a child's body that will never age. But he is expected not only to produce babies for the people who have done this to him, he is expected to get pregnant and carry children for these people, and he is expected to get pregnant from his cousins, who are going to marry him as a group and own him as their group property. His literal cousins, who are literally all much older than him and have been fucking attracted to the body that he is in since before it died, when it was even younger than it is now. And these people are years older and continue to fucking age, and they are attracted to the body of a small fucking child. And if Kai is... I almost called him Murderbot, because all of the fucking characters have zero personality besides asshole that everybody likes. Literally, this is a pedophilic, incestuous eugenics program. And Martha Wells wants us to think this is fantastic. This is amazing. This is awesome and totally morally neutral. Not only morally neutral, it's fantastic. It's amazing. And then this child only is not forced to be a broodmare for fucking literally hit the people he's grown up seeing as his fucking cousins. In a body, in the body of a child that will never age. He's then groomed into a relationship with a fully grown adult man who is in his 40s, who literally starts immediately using this child as a human shield, because Martha Wells was so enamored with Murderbot, the slave, using itself as a human shield, that I guess she's just gonna have all of her fucking protagonists do that from now on. All of her protagonists are just going to be oppressed minorities who are delighted to use themselves as human shields for their oppressors. So literally, Witch King is a romance, and it's a queer-baiting romance at that, about a man in his 40s and the child who was already being groomed his entire life, using that child as a human shield. And this is portrayed as romantic.
With that child,
As
the queer baiting part.
Yeah. And all of this is presented as romantic and adorable and relationship goals, and so tragic, because by the time the story takes place, the fucking pedophile has died of old age. So that makes it beautiful. That just got cold water on my foot. Okay, as long as it's only water. Martha Wells, this isn't a one-off, oh, I didn't think that through. That's not what I meant to say at all. She's doing this on purpose. She has made, and she does it in Rapport, the newest shitty little Murderbot short story that's not an actual story because it doesn't have a beginning and end. She had to throw a fucking line in there about how the protagonist's parents, how the protagonist, when she was in high school or whatever, was being preyed upon by a teacher's assistant, which is like if you've never had a teacher's assistant, it's like the second person in the classroom. It's a college age person who's at college and is going to college to learn how to be a teacher, and they get an internship to be in the classroom so they can learn hands-on shit. Martha Wells made sure to tell us, for no reason except to downplay pedophilia, that the protagonist of Rapport, Iris, was also preyed upon by a college-age teacher's assistant, adult, while she was still in school, and that her parents completely overreacted. Martha Wells is determined to fucking tell people that pedophilia is not dangerous. It's actually not harmful. You shouldn't actually think it's bad. You should think it's romantic. You should think it's just harmless. You absolutely should not get the victims. Don't give them any fucking support in any way. Don't provide them a safe space to fucking talk about what they went through, process their emotions or anything. Don't tell any trusted adult that can get them help. If you did that, Martha Wells says, you wouldn't be respecting their privacy, and this is completely unironic. And she's having the character who literally stalked this child for weeks being the one doing this, and we are literally supposed to agree that Murderbot is correct. Martha Wells is not any fucking better than... Hold on, I can't remember her fucking name. Who the fuck wrote Twilight? Stephenie Meyer. Forgot the name. Martha Wells is not better than Stephenie Meyer. They're probably part of the same fucking cult. Or at least same fucking general fucking faction religiously, because we're not even getting into all that quiverful shit. Ask yourself why everybody in the Murderbot Diaries has multiple marriage partners and dozens of children. Ask yourself that question. Why that's not only within the corporation rim, but also the place they were told is a utopia. Ask yourself why women are being forced to give birth to endless children for these group marriages. Ask yourself that. Martha Wells is not doing pedophilia apologism by accident. She is a fully grown adult, and she knows exactly what she is doing. She is writing pro-pedophilia propaganda on purpose, and it's working, because almost every single person's takeaway from the entire situation with Amina, that we are supposed to consider fully resolved and not to be questioned, people think it's funny, because that's how Martha Wells frames it. It's funny how her Murderbot jump scared the pedophile by standing in his living room when he turned the lights on. That's so funny. We're not supposed to be fucking horrified on Amina's behalf. We're not supposed to see any of this as a horror story. We're not supposed to be upset with Murderbot for endangering Amina further, which is what it is fucking doing. We're not supposed to be upset about how Amina is being victim blamed and shamed and told it's her fault, and if she tells anyone, she'll just get into even more trouble. Martha Wells is doing this on purpose. She has a goddamn agenda, and she has been sticking to it faithfully since 2012. And it is 2026 now. And the only reason that I found out there was pedophilia in Witch King at all is because a single goddamn reviewer called it out and said, what the fuck is going on here? You are literally telling us to cheer on a child in the body of a young girl being forced to get pregnant from her fucking cousins and produce eugenics offspring as a goddamn child who will be getting fucking raped by adults because the dead child who was probably fucking murdered, but we're not supposed to notice that, literally would be getting pregnant by her adult cousins. And Martha Wells tells us to think this is all totally fine and normal and acceptable. This is not normal. This is not okay. I am sick to fucking death of people, especially people who claim to do media criticism professionally, giving this shit a free pass when it is constant. She keeps doubling down. You can fucking expect to see more of this shit in whatever she publishes next. That's it. Bye-bye.